What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys, virtually, I suppose. It's always a good time to sit and chat with you guys here live for the Ask the Experts live Q&A, sponsored by Expert Professional Wood Care. Thank you, Caleb and Athley? No, that's not the name. Caleb and Ashley. I really do appreciate your guys and all the team's support. We had a couple stain orders come in this week, so we had a mixture of 5-gallon buckets and 55-gallon barrels of stain show up. So thank you. Appreciate your guys' support. Appreciate you supporting the channel. If you guys are watching on the podcast or listening to the podcast, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. This is a recorded live recording of the live Q&A we do over on YouTube, youtube.com/Joe Everest. Sure like to see you guys there. We're here most Saturdays from 10 to 12:30 Central. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up our guest. If you read the title, you know exactly who we're going to talk to. My favorite, Michelle. Don't tell the other Michelles, though. But this is probably my favorite, Michelle. This is probably my favorite. I don't. You never say favorites. I'm trying to learn this. But so, Michelle Romero, I apologize if you're watching this. You're also a special Michelle. Okay, let's just talk. Michelle, how are you? Uh-oh. No audio, Michelle. Oh. Can you unmute yourself?
Hey,
bingo. There we are.
Was that like a rocky start or what? I was trying to be really quiet and good and ready to rock back here. Forgive me for that. Good morning.
That's okay.
Happy Saturday.
How is your Saturday going? I love it. How is it?
It's epic. We are in rain and a little bit of yucco weather. So I'm going to hang with you guys today and then probably get a little bit of work done. I'm going to be in work mode a little bit today.
There you go. I like it. Much the same here. Well, no, it's not raining. I don't want to say much the same. It's actually is a crisp autumn morning here. So it was 58 on the way in and dry. So, good fencing weather.
Is your orange tree going to become orange anytime soon? Tell me about that. Catch me up on
the orange green. It's still green. This thing, I fertilize this excessively all year long. Like, I want this thing to be the biggest, healthiest tree it can be. Still green, which is probably a good thing, I guess. I don't know. But I'll be honest with you. So we were watering twice a day through the summer because I did not want to lose it. We went through a bit of a drought. And my neighbor said, are you watering morning and evening? You don't understand what I have invested in this tree. This thing is going to get all the water it could possibly get. But it will be orange shortly, though. I feel sure. This is the first week of cool weather we've had.
I'm ready. I'm ready to see those pictures.
I'm gonna put them up. So, also a little bit of an update. So, we'll get into our worker relationship here in a little bit. But I don't know if you've seen we on Slack. So, your company and my company communicate via Slack, which is a messaging app. So, we are starting a manufacturing business. We're going to make our own chain link wire.
I think I saw that. And I heard a little rumblings about this, and I am thrilled.
So when you say you're going to go to work this afternoon, same. As soon as this gets over, we're headed back there because our trainer shows up tomorrow evening. Wow. So we hit the ground running Monday, making some chain link wire.
I love it. I'm in. I love the fact that you are going to be an inch wide and a mile deep in your industry, right? So you're just going to solve all your own problems all the way down the supply chain. I love it.
Exactly. That's what we're shooting for.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Well, because think about, so I have this conversation a lot lately talking about what we're doing and how we're mimicking some really successful companies that are household names, right? Sure. And when you look at these companies, that's really what they do is they solve their supply chain issues themselves.
They do.
I mean, there's a massive online retailer that also owns shipping lines, airlines. They're in rail freight. Like they're solving. They have overseas mills and overseas production facilities. They're solving all their own problems.
All the
right?
things.
They said, "Hey, we're having an issue." So we're doing it on this big of a scale as compared to them. let's do this. Let's say hi to a few folks, and then I want to get into how we know each other and how we met each other. Because I'm going to ask you, I'm giving you a heads up. I'm going to ask you here in a couple minutes how we met each other, and I'm going to see if you remember.
I'm going to be ready. I know. I remember what it was. I was there. I love it. I'm ready.
Kelly was here early. Says too early again, Joe. I need one of those orange watches you have. They're available pretty much everywhere. Now, Kelly was really early because she posted at 4:00 yesterday afternoon. So little bit ahead of schedule.
Eager. We'll I like eager.
Project Metal Music. So Project Metal Music is joining us from across the pond. So we say good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I love it.
And so we have like a tribe within the Fence fam that follows the channel, and they follow a lot of the fencing channels. Project Metal Music is one of the tribe because he's always reminding people, smash the like, the heart, the whatever emotion you're feeling right now. Just if you're on Facebook, smash that one. If you're on LinkedIn, you could give us a thumbs up or like a hand clap. That would be good, like a celebration.
All of them. I like the 2 hands. I like this thing. I like that one. That's my favorite.
Like the high five. Yep.
Love it. The high 10.
Whatever you feel, just send that one on in. It really does help, guys. It really does. Let the platform know that we're doing things that you like. As well, drop a comment in the comments below so we can say hello to you. Just like Josh did. Aloha Fence says Aloha Fence is in the house from Heber City. I need Josh. Is it Heber City? I should know this. He does a lot. So Josh is like one of the guys in the fencing industry. Does a lot of lives. He's putting a lot of content out there. And I feel like he said this a lot, and I just ignore it. Is it Heber City? I think it is.
Huber.
I
love the fact that he's bringing the tropics to Utah because they certainly need a little tropics over there. I mean, I'm getting the irony there, and I'm feeling it, and I like.
There's a story there. I need to have Josh on. We need to talk about the story. But it is beautiful. Utah in general is beautiful. So anyway, I'm jealous. Speaking of someone across the pond, Stevie boy, how are you? Good afternoon. Woo! Todd M is with us. Good morning, Joe. Hope you're having a great day, Todd. No. I hope you are having a good day. Great day. Hope everyone's having a great day. Jeremy is here. If I remember, I believe Jeremy is from Texas. Welcome, Jeremy. So Jeremy is another one that's in the tribe that's just constantly here. And actually, so through like YouTube or whatever, Jeremy had met up with Kenny Dugan, who is in the staining world, and they linked up to be like mentor mentee sort of thing. So love that.
I love how the fence staining folks are like the yin and yang. I mean, I love this whole combo pack. I met some staining folks recently at the huge convention, and these guys are awesome. Some friends of yours. Friends of yours.
They are good people. I legitimately enjoy being in this industry just because you deal with people that are like genuine, you know, and I don't want to say that probably makes other industries sound bad. I don't know, but I like ours because when I'm talking to people at these conventions anywhere, they're just good, like salt to the earth folks.
They are. They're great.
Todd says here from the Mile High City. Very good. Oh, look at this. Kenny Dugan's right here. Good morning.
What's the Mile High City? Forgive me. Why do I not know this?
It's Denver, right?
Why do I not know this? Of course it is Denver.
Yeah, Denver.
What am I thinking?
Yeah, I second guessed myself as soon as I said it very confidently, and then went,
And then you were like, "Wait, is that Chicago?"
Did I make that up? I'm guilty of like making things up and then like just going with it. Like, oh yeah, 2 and 2, that's 5 for sure every time.
I'm in. I do it all the time too.
Aloha Fence says yes. Heber. Okay, got it. Noted. Heber.
How we roll. I like it.
Jose's here. Garcia's Fence is in the house from Southern California. Talk about a place that's beautiful right now, I'm sure. And I say that because it's like always ever beautiful, I think.
It is. I love California. My daughter wants to go to college in California. So I may have a little bit more of a California connection here sometime.
Not a bad place.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Every year we go to Social Media Marketing World, and it's in San Diego every year. And it's February, March in that time frame. Sure. What a time to go when you're from somewhere cold. I think San Diego sounds great. All right. Dan Wheeler from the Dan Wheeler podcast, from the Fence Industry podcast, not the Dan Wheeler. It could be the Dan Wheeler podcast. Anyway, good morning, Fence fam. No work today. Brother-in-law's getting married.
Oh, yay.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I think when you're in college, they call that a darty. Is that a daytime party? Isn't a wedding kind of a darty?
Oh,
I know. This is the college kids call this.
Yeah. I've never heard it called that, but
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Daytime party. Darty.
All right. Braden's like our resident young person here.
Oh, he is?
And this must be a regional thing because he also has not heard of it, but
really?
It works. Darty works. We're using that. I don't know how here at the Fence Company we'll use that information, but we try to keep darties to a minimum here.
Of course you do.
Jose says it's the first live. Jose, I hope it's going well. I hope this live is going well for you. Jonathan says, good morning, Fence fam. Welcome back, Joe. Thank you, Jonathan. It has been a few weeks since we've had a live. We had last weekend, we were in, legitimately called Monkey Island in Oklahoma.
Was there monkeypox, though? That's the question. Monkeypox or just Monkey Island?
No, Monkey Island. And like they have signs like that say monkey. At first, I thought this was like people were like, oh, we just call it Monkey Island. No, there's signs like, welcome to Monkey Island. And then when you're leaving, sorry to see you leave Monkey Island. Like, and then here's the thing, Michelle. So, there's a thing sometimes where locals try to tell visitors stories to see if they'll believe them. I think I fell for one of these, but so I might be like making this worse. But what one of them said was the reason it's called Monkey Island. It's not even an island, actually. It's more of like an isthmus, but there's a guy there that had a bunch of animals. Like, so I don't know, he had a bunch of animals. Like, I don't know if it was like an on the road circus or whatever. Because we've got one of those here. Like, there's a circus organizer here that has like camels and stuff. But I'm thinking it's all like that. But he had monkeys, and the monkeys got loose and like took over the island for a while until not took over, but they were like everywhere on this island until he could like go like, do you wrangle monkeys? I don't know, but until he got them like all back. And then from then on.
Don't you put them in a barrel? I mean, maybe I'm going old school, but don't you don't they go in a barrel?
In the barrel? Monkeys in the barrel? Barrel of monkeys?
Barrel monkeys? I mean, maybe the barrel is what you were missing in this instance.
I get he needed a barrel. He needed the barrel is what he needed. So they told us this story, and like I feel like enough of them said the story because like I would ask, like we were in different places where I felt fairly sure these people probably didn't like know each other directly. I was like, Monkey Island, like, where does Monkey Island come from? And they all told similar versions to the same story. So I'm like, well, there might be a thread of truth here. Or there's a town hall meeting. And they're like, listen, anyone that comes here that's not from here, we tell them the monkey story. Everyone stick to the story and this will be great.
I love it.
But it has been a couple weeks. The week before that, we sponsored the Springfield Sertoma Sport Shoot. So it was a sporting clay tournament where we presented them with a little bit of money to keep the kids, supported. So Springfield Sertoma, I'm a member of Springfield Sertoma, but I'm also a big fan. So Braden and I were just talking. So we've got an event coming up November 5th that we're going to do a big check presentation because so we support their grant program. So Springfield Sertoma locally, their mission, the overall like international mission is hearing health, specifically with kids, but not only for kids, just hearing health in general. But our local mission is just basically children's charities. So if you have a legitimate not-for-profit that supports a mission that helps kids in our area, like in our local community, then we support them. So, think like Diaper Bank of the Ozarks is like a really local one. But there's also Boys and Girls Club is a name that everyone is pretty familiar with, I feel like. So far this year, we'll be up to, so basically 40,000 between the grant program is 25,000. We're sponsoring Wingapalooza for 10 and then 5 for the sports shoot. So trying to help these kiddos out sort of thing.
I'm obsessed. Fun fact that you may not know about me: I am a sport shooter as well.
Are you?
I am. I have my own Beretta over under, and
is it a silver pigeon?
It is not a silver pigeon.
Okay.
It's got a red dot on it, and my husband would be very angry that I don't know the name of it. In this moment, he would be like, "What do you know?" I can't remember.
It's obviously a fill in the blank.
Exactly. So forgive me, Doug, if you're hearing this, that I can't remember the name of my own shotgun. So, but we're getting into that season now where we're going to start shooting a little bit more. So I am obsessed with it. I love it a lot, and it's a lot of fun. We've got a girl group out here in Virginia called the Grits. The girls really into shooting. So we like it. We're in. I'm in for the shooting.
I'm going to need to make a trip out there, go shoot with you guys. I'm not really good, but I do have a good time. Yeah,
I think I fall in that same category. I'm not terribly good, but I enjoy it.
That's always the answer when we're all coming back and they're like tallying scores. Whatever, everyone's like, "Oh, how'd you shoot?" I had a good time. That's how well I shot. Is I just had a good time.
Love it.
Oh, let's see. We got to get caught up here. Jeff is here with us. Good morning. Listening in Pennsylvania while sending out fence quotes.
Woohoo!
Sounds like a solid day. Jose Garcia says high 80s, low 90s all this week in SoCal. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Michelle, are you hearing an echo on your end?
I'm not hearing anything. No.
Do you have an echo? Well, anyway.
It's really hard to hear what you guys are saying.
Yeah, but because you're listening on a delay. Oops. No. Kitty says Jeremy and I are knocking a job out next week. Very good. Very good. This is the Fence fam coming together.
I love it.
Ideal Fence says, "What's up, Fence fam? Glad to be here today. Let's go." Completely agree. Chris Steele says, "Fence fam." There is an echo. That is what it is. I don't. All right. Michelle, all right. I told you, I gave you a warning and that I'm going to ask.
I'm ready.
Do you remember how you and I came to meet each other?
You and I met in Branson, Missouri at a huge convention, and which is one of the conventions for the exterior cleaning company.
Yep.
And you walked through my booth and you gave me your card and you had all orange on. So clearly you were unforgettable. And my husband and I said, "What is a fence guy here doing at an exterior cleaning conference?" And you came by once, and then you actually won a giveaway that I did, which was giving someone an iPad. And so you came back to the booth and we laughed and we talked and I gave you your iPad and then you went away. And I thought, I might not ever see that orange guy again. And then boom, you showed up back on my radar again a few weeks later, I'm sure.
Yep.
And we connected and we talked about how my business could help support yours. And we've been fast friends and co-workers and equals and all the good stuff that we do with our businesses. And we kind of have this pink and orange mashup. And so I was asking my husband last night, I was like, I wonder if Joe Everest and I could have our own acronym, right? He's orange and I'm pink. And I laid in bed at midnight last night and said, how about Oink?
Oink.
Joe Everest and I are Oink, orange and pink together, like a little piggy pie. He didn't think it was that good. So I'm going to leave that one in the creative land over there. So
just let it grow a little bit. It'll grow on folks and it'll be fine.
It might grow on us, but I doubt it. So that's how we met. We met at a trade show, and I got to give you props for this. I loved seeing you there because it was not your industry. I loved seeing you there because you were learning best practices. And newsflash for everybody who's hearing, right? Every single service business has something that we can learn. If we're not in that industry, there's so much cross-pollination and good practice that we can pick up. And so if there's a show that's close to you, get in your truck and go. You're going to get value no matter what they're talking about. So I loved that part.
Absolutely agree. And that's how I remember it. So in my version of the story, which is very similar, we were walking through as Scott and I were walking through the show, just kind of seeing who was there. So the reason we're there, so it's a huge convention. Yeah. So it's a big cleaning convention, like an exterior cleaning services. but we were there because we're looking at, this is when we were first beginning to consider staining, fence cleaning, and with fence cleaning came house cleaning, roof washing, the whole thing.
Sure.
And huge convention was like 40 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So we got to go. Like this is a sign that we've got to get there. So we're walking down the aisles, and I see a booth that is fluorescent pink. Like it is wall to wall pink, including yourself. Oh, and I was like, I recognize this. I know this color branding idea. Like we need to have a conversation because you are all in on pink and I'm all in on orange, and I feel like we should know each other. and the rest was history. Yeah, we won the iPad, and then a few weeks later reached out, and I thought, so this is a good segue. Like I struggle at segues, but folks, I'm here to tell you this could be a good one. So the reason I reached out to you was to learn more about your business, which is also what we're here to talk today about. Nailed it. It's almost like I planned it. I don't, but sometimes it works. Michelle, so let's talk about it. What do you do? What does your company do?
You know what I do? I help home service businesses fill their calendar and make more money. That's what I do. Okay. I help home service businesses put a person in the front of their business, an incredibly kind voice, an empathetic, strong, organized, and remotely located admin in your business. And you're encouraged to think outside the box as I explain this to you, because what you probably think is, oh, it's VAs that are from other countries afar afloat, right? Way over there. Or it's an answering service that happens to be in like Topeka, Kansas, or in New York or something. And so it's none of those things. And it's an agency model where we hire awesome people to place inside of your business, working on your tools, sharing your scripting or talking about what you do as a business. And it's a customizable process that we go through that kind of helps you replace anybody that you might have on the phones, or more importantly, if you're the business owner, who I hate to say it, but you may not be the best on the phones, and you might be busy. You might be doing other stuff, creating a manufacturing company. You should be. And so the best way I can describe it is, if you could take your superstar, super admin, super customer service rep, and identify who they were in the world, we have those people working with us, and we place them in your business remotely. So that's kind of it.
So that is such a great way of putting it, because I had a hard time wrapping my head around it at the convention when you and I were talking. I was like, so some people would term it like an answering service.
They would.
But while that is one of the functions, it's not really it. Right. Some people would term it like a call center, but again, not really it. Right. Yeah. So in my mind, I pictured, so we have several call centers here in town, and they're all basically the same: big concrete buildings. They got a few windows in them, but not very many, and just massive parking lots full of cars all the time. And at the time, that was my impression, or at least that's what I had thought this was. And then as we came to know each other and came to learn about it, I was like, that's not really what this is at all. So not only, and so I try to explain when I'm talking to new fence companies, I'm trying to explain what this is, right? So it's like, it's a cheerful, friendly voice that answers the phone every time, right? Because here's the thing is, I've been known to have some off days. And when I answer the phone on those days, I am not nearly as cheerful as our rock star, right? As Shell is. So it's a friendly voice that answers the phone. More importantly, it answers the phone every time, right? The friendly voice. Now, Shell is our current rock star, and this is kind of a neat example. So, but we don't only get Shell, right? So we also get Step, which is the next step up. And then we also have Lori, who is like the next step up. Now, listen, Michelle, we got to talk about something, though.
I know where you're going. I took your lorry from you.
Every time.
I know.
We have gotten very fortunate that we have been paired with some really, really good people, and good people get promoted, and I absolutely understand that. So, but they're still like in our ecosystem.
They're absolutely still around. Yep.
Here's where I'm going with this. So Shell was impacted by the hurricane, not like an emergency, but like the power went out. So she just wasn't able to perform tasks, answer phones, that sort of thing. So Steph took over, and we didn't know that until we got a Slack message and just said, "Hey, by the way, Shell lost power. I'm stepping in. No interruption of service. Let me know if you need anything."
Yeah.
How fantastic.
It's seamless. And that's why we have the team built the way we have it, so that there's redundancy built in, so that in case anything were to happen to your customer service rep, and in this case, it's Shell, you don't have to go without your phones being taken care of. In fact, we got sent on Thursday from one of our other clients who actually was in Florida. And she just kept saying, "I'm so grateful that my CSR is out of state. They aren't being impacted by this. They're booking jobs still and actually keeping my business running while I'm protecting our home and taking care of our kiddos and doing whatever evacuation." And so for that as well, I just love what we do, because we're divesting the power of your customer service, and we're divesting it nationwide. So instead of you just being, your one service area and your one, town that you support, you're basically outsourcing that customer care so that it's always taken care of. It's an insurance policy, really. I mean,
it is. So our office lost power earlier this week, and because Shell's off site again, our phones weren't impacted. Right. I put a message in Slack, said, "Hey, no power," which means our phones are up. So our phones are VoIP phones. So if we lose power and if we lose internet, which that's happened before too. So they're building a new fire station basically right across the street. And so our internet has been impacted a couple times, throughout this, which means we lose phones. But we enter a message just saying, all right, we type a Slack saying, "Hey, Shell, we don't have phones. So if you could just send whatever messages here on Slack, and then we can return them on our phone, like on our cell phones, that sort of thing." But the point being, from the public's perspective, there is not an interruption of service.
No disruption.
There's always a cheerful voice answering the phone every time. I think that's huge.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It was a business that I built based on something that I needed. So it started out as something that I needed to do for my family and for my kids. And it evolved into a business thanks in no small part to my husband, Doug, who really saw the vision of what the business could be. And so we just love providing jobs for people. That's my number one mission, is providing jobs for people, and then helping home service businesses grow. My dad was a contractor, and so I have this in my lineage that I really want to see people that work in the trades, in any trade, really be able to spend more time with their family, have less stress in their business, and being able to outsource this really sort of maniacal role. It can be maniacal, right? The phone never stops. The emails don't stop. The contact forms always come in. And so if you are a person who really wants to work with their hands and be out in the field, the repetitive nature of customer service can be very draining for you. And so we take that just kind of out of your world, and with full transparency, you can see how many calls, you can see all the messages. We work within your CRM. So there's really a lot of trust that is built automatically just by the way we've built the company. And you're not feeling like, gosh, I'm paying these people, what's going on? You can enter in and see what's happening all day, any day, which I think should give every business owner a great level of comfort,
Well, absolutely. Because we were talking earlier that I'm not in the Slack channel every day. I'm not keeping up day to day on, or all, throughout the day on what's going on in this communication channel, because I don't need to, right? Because my team here is interacting with your team seamlessly. Yeah. But what's nice is we get a weekly update too. Or I do, like in the management channel, it's here's how many calls, here's how many tasks, here's, just the whole rundown, so that I can at a glance know, okay, which I like it too, because then it also helps me track call volume. So, okay, so where's call volume this week versus last week versus the week before? It's all in there, and we can, you can scroll back through the last year and see this week, last year, how many calls did we have come in, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on this too, because the answering the phones is absolutely the first critical step.
Number one.
Right?
Absolutely.
It is the first critical step, but it is not the only critical step. No. Because you mentioned it. It's returning emails, returning contact forms through email or otherwise, making sure the customers feel heard, no matter how they're trying to communicate. Right? Yeah. We kind of utilize all those, right? Phone calls, emails, and all that. And I tell you, it's a blessing, because we know if I forward an email over, I know it's handled. Right. And I get a reply back. It's like, I'm on it, or left a message. Here's the result, that sort of thing. So it's also a personal assistant, right? Or an administrative assistant. So because they help the whole team, sort of thing too.
Absolutely. I know you work with your sister, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Sarah can probably speak to this better than anybody. She probably has more interaction with our team members than we even probably do. And the good thing about that is that you have Sarah in your business because obviously you're related to her, but you trust her and she's capable. And so to have that person supporting Sarah even is of benefit, right? So she doesn't feel the burn. And there are a lot of lower level tasks, repetitive tasks, things that we can just kind of check boxes for you all on. And again, that's where business owners get stuck in the mire of kind of that repetitive stuff. And the beauty of having someone like Shell is, she's going to handle all of that junk for you. And it's really going to result in everybody having a lot more freedom. We put Traction into our business. Are you familiar with Traction?
I am.
Book? Yes. So we put Traction in our business in March, and we have seen an amazing, bigger and better benefit of accountability in our business, just all the way from the top, all the way down. So part of that data drop, we call it, giving you the data on your business, is a result of us knowing that accountabilities are really important, and then just reporting those to you. You shouldn't have to chase the information in your business. We should deliver it to you, right? And so it's just a different mindset. And I love that part that we've kind of implemented this past year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such a breath of fresh air knowing that these tasks are just taken care of, right? There's not, because one of the points I started to hit on earlier was that we don't just have Shell, right? We said we have Steph and Lori, which is also nice for my peace of mind, because I'm not having to deal with scheduling, right? So, all right, so-and-so has a doctor's appointment this day. Who's going to cover the phones? Is it me? Is it Sarah? Is it, or the last minute something came up, right? Like had to pick a kid up early at the school, or whatever life happens, right? And we don't have to worry about it. It just gets handled. So here's the thing, like full transparency. So once a quarter, we have an advisory committee. So it's myself, Sarah, Jim, Matt, and Scott. We all meet and talk about the business, right? We talk about the upper level management stuff, like here's where we're going, here's where we've been, that sort of thing. But we also take a look at the P&L. Where can we trim things, and line item by line item. And I say all that to say Pink Collars is a line item.
It is.
Because it's an investment. It is an investment. There's no way around that. But so the conversation is always, so every line item, this isn't only Pink Collars, but every line item is, do we need it? Can we do it better? Can we do it less expensively? Can we, where are we at with this line item? And Pink Collars, it's almost gotten to the point where we see Pink Collars, we're like, all right, check, moving on. Because so let's talk about the cost. And the cost varies, but I mean, in rough terms, because we're not only having a frontline CSR, we're also having their supervisor and their supervisor.
Yep.
So like, okay, so can we hire in-house 3 team members to perform these roles?
Not at all.
No,
not at all.
And we shouldn't, right? So the CSR supervisor and the supervisor, we don't have enough volume of just tasks to keep them fully engaged.
Of course not.
And to justify the cost.
Yeah.
Just don't. So I say that to say, like, once a quarter we evaluate it. Everything's evaluated, but it's one of the quicker things we move past. It's like, nope, we've been there. Like we've dove into it. How much would it cost if we performed the same task in-house? It was not even close. And so we're like, moving on.
Well, the beautiful part about it is too, so just for your listeners, we don't come in at the top line. We don't come in as cost of goods sold. So we are not in your payroll number. We're down below in your expense number, which is a whole different way to look at a service like ours. And so when you have that expense, it remains consistent throughout. It doesn't jump high, jump low. It's not seasonal. It's not, of course, unless you add another human being. But it doesn't fluctuate like payroll. So it's a constant that you can sort of budget for and know that percentage takes care of this role. Sure. And what I've heard, and forgive me if this isn't accurate, so tell me what you're seeing out there. What I've heard is when you have service businesses that are performing admin tasks or, non-revenue generating tasks, right? Yep. You want to have that non-revenue generating person, or group at between 3 to 7% of your P&L. So you don't want to go over that. Yes. And I can promise you that we're within that range on your P&L, if not even smaller. And that is a comfortable level for you to kind of budget for. So if you're thinking about using a service like this, think of your P&L as a percentage of your overall top line revenue. And then you'll see how affordable it really is. Once you do that math, you'll go, oh, wow, this has to happen. And I'm on the struggle bus trying to fill this role, and they have these awesome people. Let's just divest this out of the company.
Absolutely. And let's talk for a minute too, is you don't jump directly into the deep end, right? No. So, well, in our journey, we didn't.
No, not at all. We started teeny.
Yeah. With like a fraction. I don't know if fractional is the correct term, but we used part of their day, right? We didn't use their entire day or 100% of their bandwidth. The first CSR we dealt with, but so I think she really just handled phone calls, and then we hadn't got into CRM yet. We hadn't got into emails. We just wanted somebody to answer the phones because that was somewhere that we were lacking. We didn't have someone that we could dedicate to answering phones. Like, we just didn't. So, but then we grew because one thing you guys are great at is asking consistently, what do you not enjoy doing in your business? Yeah. What, to your point, are there repetitive tasks that could be taken off your plate? If so, let's talk about it.
It's a trust thing too. I mean, we're all, you know this, we're all as business people in the business of trust.
Sure.
So trust is really what we're dealing in all day, every day with our customers, with our team members, with our community, everyone. And so you had to build trust with us. You had to say, okay, I'm going to give them the phones, and then I'm going to make sure that goes smoothly. Then I'm going to add this and I'm going to add that. I mean, I know for me, what I'm seeing at least is Shell's helping walk your customers through that My Salesman, right? Yeah. To do the measurements. Yeah. And I mean, can you imagine if you're in the drive-through at McDonald's trying to walk some homeowner through My Salesman on the phone? And you know that the listeners that's happening with, right?
Yes.
And you're impatient and you're frustrated, but we actually take the time, we walk them through how to measure, and we can get that quote fully solved. And for me, when we do even one of those a day, we're paying for ourselves. If we only did one, we're paying for ourselves. So think of it that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and Shell's kind of taken that even further to where she's in. So our CRM is Job Nimbus. Mm-hmm. So you guys have kind of taken it on yourselves to learn Job Nimbus and figure out where she fits in the workflow. Like, where does it make sense? Does it make sense that, so after a quote tool submitted, she creates the customer and the job. And so she does a lot of that. Now we're getting ready to get a little bit creative here because Job Nimbus announced a few weeks ago, actually. So Matt Warner announced a few weeks ago that they were partnering with Job Nimbus so now this should work automatically. So now we're going to get even more creative. Yeah. So, and actually, last week at the Midwest AFA event, Mark Olson with Job Nimbus was there, and he and I had a little bit of a chat about it too. So it sounds like it does those tasks automatically, which is great because now we can prioritize other tasks. We've gotten to a point where we're pretty well, we're close to bandwidth. We're close to Shell's bandwidth.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, okay, so what can we automate? What can we make
do now?
simpler?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next task? Because there are several, I'm sure. But it's also you guys being willing, to be a little bit flexible with that. To say, okay, well, this is handled. So what's next? What else can we help with? That sort of thing.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to speak to technology because that can be a little bit of a fear factor for a lot of the listeners. So I want to talk about that really quick. When technology comes through your business and you adopt it, you as the owner may not be the perfect person to train it, to implement it, and to get it out the door to your team, right? And so this is another place where we come in where the pain is real. And when technology changes or shifts, like Joe just mentioned, this is not an adverse thing for us at Pink Collars. We work fully in CRMs and in technology all day long. And we have really good systems to train our team on all of those changes. So that's another thing that you can just check off your list is training and implementation if something were to pivot. And I like to look at technology sort of like guns, bullets. Here we go again. We're back at shotguns again. I think technology is kind of like bullets that you are arming your business with. Okay. So you're just loading up your shotgun or your handgun, whatever it is. You're loading it up so that you have the appropriate tool in which to implement, the changes in your company. And so don't be afraid of CRMs that you may not understand it. Let somebody who's, a little bit more well-versed in it and maybe even younger. Don't tell anybody I said this. But sometimes, I'm just saying, sometimes we're not super tech savvy and some of these younger folks really are. So the team that I've got is really well-versed in being able to pivot in those changes. So don't let that be a stopgap for you. Just put your hands up and say, guys, I don't really know how to do this thing. Let's just get it going. So we're happy to help that way too.
I think that's a great point too, when you talked about the training you guys do, because for us, so when Steph was getting promoted and she was bringing someone new in, again, from our perspective, we knew about it because it was being discussed in the Slack channel, but our business didn't feel that. No, we didn't feel bringing on a new team member, the training, because sometimes there's pain points with that.
Oh, yeah.
But from our end, there was no interruption of service. Yeah. Right. So not only did you guys source a new CSR who Shell is a rock star. So there's something to your guys' interview process here too, in how you interview and how you vet and making sure the right people are with the right team.
Yeah.
Right. Because we consistently receive rock stars as our CSRs, but there's like I said, from our perspective, we don't feel that at all. We've brought on new team members here and we feel that, right? The ones that we bring on internally, because there is training. And when we're training, we need to take someone away from their daily job, their daily task list, to also then train and then try to get this person up to speed. So that's also nice on our end too, is we didn't have to find Shell, right? And we didn't have to train her. And one day Steph said, oh, by the way, Shell is killing it, and she's actually been doing the phones for the last day. Now I've been monitoring and just making sure it's all good. And okay, fantastic. Then we're fully transitioned, and to the point again, we didn't feel it. She just took over seamlessly. So you guys are doing a few things right there as far as training as well.
Thank you. Well, not to give away all my secrets, but we do have all 4 time zones that we can choose from. And I've got 4 job ads in every time zone. So that's 16. I got 16 job ads on Indeed alone going all the time. And so we're probably processing through between 500 and 700 people a week. Wow. And of those 500 to 700, they all go to video interview. That distills them down to about 150. And then of the video interviews, that distills them down to about 20 that get an on-site interview. And then we probably are able to offer a job to someone maybe 1 a week. So we go from a massive funnel all the way down. So we're pulling from all over the country. And so that's important for you to know too, is that all of that process means we're getting great people, right?
Yeah.
And that's really the secret sauce, is we're dealing in trust and in humans here. And the human factor cannot be set aside, and finding those incredible people is really the only thing that's important for me to do.
Well, it's obviously working because, like I said, we Lori, Steph, and Shell are all just rock stars in my book, and they've come to us through Pink Collars or with Pink Collars. Let's talk about tech stacks for a minute, because you guys introduced us. We've talked about Slack, which is a messaging platform, and I didn't understand it I understood it, but I was like, well, how is this any different than like texting, right? Like, why can't we put a text group together and then it's but to your point, you're like, trust me, like just try it for a while and trust me. And then we started creating different groups. So we've got like a general communications group. We have a residential, so that the folks that are taking care of retail wholesale, they don't need to be in the conversations for residential. They don't need to have to put bandwidth into reading this and seeing if that applies to them. They can focus on their task, sort of thing. And then we have a management group as well, to where we just talk about the weekly numbers, the recap, and that's where Steph shared with us, like she said, hey, Shell's had an interruption of power, so I'm stepping in, this sort of thing. And but it's a messaging platform is the basic way of putting it, but it is a customizable messaging platform.
And just so that the listeners understand, my favorite part about it is that as a business owner, I don't need to be involved in all of the communication, but it is highly important to me to confirm that my people are communicating clearly, positively, kindly, and efficiently, right? And so as a business owner, you can kind of hover over all of that communication and see what's happening, and then confirm that things are going correctly in your business. And if you see a breakdown, you can fix it. You can fix that immediately in your culture, which is also something really beautiful about Slack, is it gives that. If you're texting me on my cell phone, that's hard for me. And I'd rather have you get me on Slack. So I like that part too, that separation.
Absolutely. So, and what I do, like as someone that's just like monitoring this, so I just do a daily scroll at the end of the day. Like in the evening, I'll do a daily scroll. What were the conversations? And sometimes, and like the team knows, if they want me to weigh in on something, they can just tag me in it. They can just at Joe, and it will notify me, and I can jump in and have that conversation. But I'm just going to scroll throughout the day, and then maybe I give some advice in for whatever it is, that sort of thing. But it's nice to be able to do that. A daily scroll through residential, a daily scroll through the communications, and just see, to your point, make sure everything's handled correctly, right? And make sure the conversations are going well, and just see if anybody's struggling, really. See if there's any questions that aren't getting answered clearly, maybe, or So we use Slack. You guys introduced us to Slack. Now, the next thing you guys introduced us to is Trello.
Yes.
I hadn't used Trello before. Can you give us a synopsis of what Trello is?
So Trello is a free service. It's a free tool. You can Google it, Trello.com. Super simple. You can set it up for your business. And what I love about Trello is it's a digital representation of your company. That's the best way I can distill it down. So if you were a pilot and you needed the whole dashboard of everything in your business, that's what Trello can represent. So we have all of the information about Joe's business on one board in one place that's collaborative, so that Sarah, where she lives, and Shell, where she lives, and Stephanie, where she lives, and Lori, where she lives, and Joe, if he wants to, can all collaborate on all the information. So it shows cards and lists, so it's graphics. And what I found is that when a customer service rep is on the phone, they're engaging with their eyes because they're looking at the screen, their ears, they're hearing you're hearing your customer speak, they're talking, they're working with their brain and their heart and their hands. And so they're fully engaged in that phone call at the moment that phone rings. And so to give them something that they can pivot their eye to and see a graphic and understand chain link fence terminology with the picture of a chain link fence, They can push the button on that picture and they can have the information that the customer may be asking about that particular service or product. So I love it for that. And then I love it for Joe's business specifically because he puts together incredible things like the customer journey, which tells our team exactly what his expectations are. Like, the phone's going to ring, and then my expectation is this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and then this is going to happen. So when you talked about Shell being replaced, or not replaced, but you talked about Stephanie being promoted and then Shell coming in her place, Shell had the benefit of all of the months that Steph had put in on that Trello board. So it serves as a training platform for the next person and for a person in your office. So it's an incredible tool that is a living history of your company and the changes that you're having. So different offers that you're doing, different seasonal things that you're doing, different services that you're adding. Like maybe you start a manufacturing company. I'm sure that can be on Trello, right? So it's great because it serves as that wayfinding for anybody on your phones. And you can put in your own voice as the owner what you want them to say when a customer calls and says, is the stain going to kill my plants? Right? Like just the answer that you know, because you're the business owner.
Yeah.
But my team doesn't know that. They're not in the staining business. But all you have to do is just tell us what you want us to say. And we go, no, Mrs. Jones, this is what's going to happen. Right. And so that ease of information transfer, I like to say it's taking the owner's brain and putting it in a place where we can see it. That's really what Trello is so helpful for. And it just continues to change and grow. In fact, I was on a call last week, Joe, and I said, I've got this thing called Trello, and the guy just couldn't understand it. And I go, okay, hold on. Let's just go to Joe Everest board because he's got it down and it's beautiful. So we showed him the board, and then all of a sudden he understood. So again, giving those CSRs those tools to be successful is really what we want to do. We want to empower that person because in my humble opinion, I truly believe that the person that is on your phones has the biggest impact on your bottom line than any other person in your business. I truly believe it. How they bring their customer in, how they nurture that relationship, how they get them through the tools to get you to the door, that transaction is incredibly important. And if it fails early, you won't be able to serve that customer. So we want rapid success at the front end, and we want to arm them with everything that they can have. So
it's the first impression of your business.
Yeah, it is. It's the first impression.
It is. It's this person does not know us from any of our competitors in the marketplace.
No.
So they're going to form an impression, whether we like it or not, of our company based on that first interaction. Now, that opinion will continue to change as they interact with more people, but that is the first interaction. And that is the baseline, the foundation of how they view our business. So it's huge when the voice answering the phone is cheerful, right? Because that sets the tone for the conversation. And it is, I'm here to help. My goal is to be as helpful to you as possible, right? Like, how can I relay that? But through Trello, it's also, I am armed with the information you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's, I love having frequently asked questions on there, right?
Oh, yeah,
so how far do you guys go to build fence, right? What times a year do you guys build fence? All the common questions. So this group, so the viewers and the listeners are probably familiar with me trying to convince them to read They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, to start documenting, please, their most common questions and answering them. Because if one person has the question, others have the question.
We do.
It's the same thing for CSRs.
Yeah. I had the great distinct pleasure of being in a Marcus Sheridan talk about 2 weeks ago in Denver. And he just continues to amaze me with the simple message that he has is that he believes, and here's some stats. I'm coming in hot with some stats.
Love it.
He said that in his research, online sales have grown over the last 5 years from about 50% to about 80%. So 80% of transactions that are happening in the world, in the country right now, purchasing of goods and services are happening online, right? So 80%, he said that's only going to grow, right?
Yep.
He also believes that the transactionless sale is what's the next thing to pop, right? Because this young homeowner has grown up with technology. They may not want to even talk to a salesperson. They may not even want to deal with somebody. And so he believes that right now that is the next wave. And if your website can have the top 5, and I'll pull it up on my phone in a second, the top 5 answers that a customer wants, they can sell themselves, push a button, and purchase your good or service without ever speaking to a human. And he believes that every home service business needs to understand that that's where we're going and get ready for it by starting to put that they ask you answer information on their website. Because
absolutely,
if you are not pre-sold on the person's website, the likelihood is that you will go until you find the amount of research that you need to make that informed decision. So that's where homeowners are really changing the pattern on us. And we need to be able to respond to that. So I'm going to find the top 5 while you talk.
I couldn't agree more. I absolutely could not agree more. And we see that in my business, in our business here at Ozark Fence, in that we have the online quote tool through my salesman, so they can, on their own schedule, in their own environment, do the quote, draw it out, get a budget price or at a bracketed price, so they know before they speak with anyone the price range this project's going to come in at. Then they submit it. We schedule a phone call. And so typically Sarah will reach out to them at a time and date that they choose. Because, and hear me when I say we're giving a lot of the control to the client right now. We're creating the framework for that, right? But we're giving them as much control as we can. Do it do the proposal on your schedule the call when it's good for you. So then Sarah will have a chat. Is there anything on this picture that I don't see? Is there a new pool? Is there a shed? Or is there something weird or wacky? The answer is typically no, right? And then we send a proposal based on that.
Yeah.
And after the proposal, they can either accept or decline. If they accept, we send them an e-sign document, and then we send them an invoice or deposit invoice digitally that they can pay online. Yeah. We don't actually step foot on the project until the contract's signed. We have a deposit, and here's kind of the dividing line that I see. Right around 45, the group that's over 45 typically has a problem. Not a problem, but they are less likely to go through these steps.
Yeah, they are. That's
you're
true.
telling me you're not going to come out and measure this?
Yeah,
you're telling me that like, well, again, on Trello, this is one of the common objections, and it is, typically it's, how did you find us? Well, I found you on Google. Did you see the 5-star reviews? Can I explain to you our process that leads to more 5-star? On and on and on, right? But under 45 typically sees that and goes, oh, well, you mean I don't have to take time out of my day to wait at my house for some contractors to show up and do the same thing the last contractor did as far as measure and then give me a quote? You're telling me I can do this on my schedule, that I can schedule a phone call with you that's typically 15 minutes where I just step away I take a break, I step out of the office, I handle this phone call, and then I can go right back to my day? Yeah. That is fantastic.
They love it. They dig it.
It's where we're headed. It is absolutely where we're headed.
Okay, so the big 5, according to Marcus Sheridan. So for your listeners, this is a little knowledge bomb that I just picked up last week, and it's funny because I'm going to actually do this on my own website. So I'm gonna take my own medicine here. So he said that the 5 subjects that every buying decision is made on, despite the industry, period. This is it. There's only 5 of them, and you got to address all 5 on your website. Number 1 is cost. He said if your prices aren't on your website, or you don't have some sort of range so that people understand what they're into, it's an issue. Number 2, what are the problems that your service is going to solve, right? So cost, problems. What are the comparisons with others? In fact, he says, talk about your competitors on your website. Just talk about them. He's like, just throw up an article and say, here are the top 5 fence installers that we know of in our service area. Number 4 is reviews. What are other people saying about us? And number 5, confirm that you are the best on your website. State it, own it, claim it. So if you do those 5, you will pre-sell your customers before they ever speak to your company. So those are the 5. I'm upset. 5. I'm doing it.
Let me look up a quote. So let me tell you guys, the listeners, if you are near an event or can get to an event that Marcus Sheridan is speaking at, you go.
Run,
you
don't
get
walk.
there. Yeah, and you sit in the front. Like
Yeah.
you get there early, you sit in the front, and you just get ready to be present. So he spoke at Social Media Marketing World, and I saw him on the speaker list. I'm like, well, that's where I'm going to be. Like, I don't know who else is speaking. A lot of times I'm looking at the list because they'll have 3 or 4 speakers at the same time frame, and you really got to say, is this or that or the other? No. Go through. All right, circle. Marcus Sheridan, done. Marcus Sheridan, done. And then I'll figure out the rest of it. But just and he's a contractor, right? Like he comes from the contracting world, the pool space. But one thing I talk about, so I typically talk to the fence fam, right? To other fence company owners or people thinking about becoming a fence company owner. But one thing, but then I go and speak at events that are like power washing events or they're staining events. And so staining is a natural yin and yang, to your point, right? It makes sense. If we're going to build beautiful fences, we want to preserve them for years to come. But it's a less logical leap to talk to commercial exterior cleaners, right? Here's the thing with commercial exterior cleaners, even residential, some of them want to be called power washers.
Yep.
Some of them want to be called pressure washers.
Yeah.
And you don't know until they tell you. So that's just, or maybe let me tell you what I love about the exterior cleaning industry. You want to talk about marketers. These people, the shirts are like,
oh yeah, NASCAR.
My favorite part.
NASCAR looking gear. It's good stuff. It's good.
We could take a page out of their book on this because before you open your mouth, you know who they are, what they do, who they're accredited by, who their ideal customers are. You know all of this just by the shirts they're wearing. And it is beautiful. But back to my point, when I'm speaking to them, the first part is, why is a fence guy going to tell me anything about marketing? Because I do X, which is something that isn't fence.
Sure.
It's an 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule applies throughout businesses everywhere in different ways. But if I'm dealing with a home service business, a home service-based business, if you have a customer that has a home and they need a service, 80% of your business and my business are going to be pretty much the same. Now, 20%, totally different. I build fence, you stain fence, or you clean roofs, or you whatever, windows, doors, okay. 80% of our business is going to be a lot the same. It's going to be, we need to find people. We need to form a relationship with them. I'm really big on relationship building, because relationships lead to trust, right? And trust is massive. We need to communicate clearly. We need to set correct expectations. We need to do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. That's kind of the same, regardless of who we're dealing with. And it's an 80-20 rule. And so that's why I can sit in a room and listen to a guy who got his career started in pools and know for a fact that what he is saying will impact my business. This is what it is. 80-20.
I
want to try to look up this quote. Please. He gave a quote, and I put it on LinkedIn because it was here's the thing about Marcus Sheridan is he's great at like making comments that they're not divisive, but they are clear cut. They're like, if you're not doing this, you're wrong and you're losing business. And they tend to be pretty right.
He's just solid in his conviction because it's worked. And he's watched it work for hundreds and hundreds of probably thousands of other companies that he's shepherded through this change. And I think a lot of business owners, I know for me, it's like, I don't want to share my secret sauce maybe, right? Or I'm a little concerned about my competitor really. Or maybe I'm a little concerned about somebody swiping my idea really. Like all of that is nonsense. That is all head trash. So you got to get rid of all that. And then you got to go, my competitor knows what I do.
Yeah.
Right. There's really not a big secret sauce.
Yeah.
And
they've got a really good idea what I charge for it too.
They do. They have a general understanding of what I do. And there's no big mystery here. And I think that's what I love about Marcus is he removes all of that garbage in your mind and says, hey guys, we are what we are and we're doing what we're doing. Why don't you just show it all, share it all, and be out there? And I love that.
Well, because you begin building trust immediately then. Yeah. Because there's not a wall. So here's the quote. So this is like out of a whole hour. So this is my biggest takeaway from it, was the call for quote button has to be the biggest middle finger you can give your clients.
Oh, it is.
And this is, and so to your point, or to his point where he's saying you need to talk about price on your website, that was this section of his talk. And he's like, listen, the customer knows that you know roughly what the project's going to cost. Now, it can vary, right? It's going to vary on 10 different things, but they know you've got a rough idea because you do. Like,
of course,
I can look at a yard and say, what kind of material do you want? When do you want it installed? What options do you want? And I'm going to have a pretty good idea. Now I'm going to pencil that in, right? I'm going to sharpen my pencil a little bit and work out all the numbers. But I can give them a price range. It's going to be between $8,000 and $10,000, right? And we can say that the average residential project right now for us is $8,632. So I can roughly say your project will likely be, if it's there is no such thing as an average size yard, even though everyone thinks they're like, my yard's about average. No such thing. But we'll say an average project for us is $8,632. So if your project will likely be between $8,000 and $10,000, depending on this, that, or the other. The customers know that you know that.
They do.
Right. And so if they see the call for quote button, they're like, oh, he's going to want to sell me. So the other part of this, and this isn't the direct quote, but basically his point was customers don't want to be sold. They want to buy. And there is a difference. Oh, yeah. They don't want a sales pitch. They don't want you to come in their living room with a slide deck of all these reasons to buy. And, listen, my boss told me if you sign up today, I can actually give you a discount. But if I leave, discount goes away. Yeah, well, if I'm a customer, I'm like, what does it matter to this project whether I accept when you're in my living room or when you get in the truck?
Yeah,
right?
What's the difference?
The footage isn't changing. The materials aren't changing. So now this is a sales tactic, right? This is you trying to get this sale, to close the sale. And in the living room, you've got a certain % higher chance of closing the sale than once you leave. So your boss has told you, offer a discount. You're more likely to get the sale than if on and on and on. Customers are figuring this out, though.
They are.
That's the problem is they don't want to be sold. They want to buy. And the example is go to a shoe store, right? I do not want to be hounded to, what size shoe? What are you here for? What am I here for? I'm in a shoe store. I'm here to buy a pair of shoes. And let me show you that. No. I want to tell you what I need and then get a selection from you because you are the professional. You're working at this store.
You're the shoe
Let me
guy.
tell you what I need. You give me some options and I'll choose the option that's best for me. Yeah. That's how customers want to be treated now. Yeah. We can do that through our businesses too.
We can. We absolutely can. And it makes it simple because it takes out that repetitive nature of the sale for the poor salesperson. And if you're the business owner and you are the salesperson, there's another repetitive task you probably shouldn't be in forever, right? Yeah. And you're saying the same thing over and over. Yes, Mrs. Jones, your plants will be fine. Yes, Mr. Jones, this is how much it'll cost. All of that good stuff. Wouldn't it be so much easier to just record it once and throw it on your website? Just be done. Like here it is. They'll sell themselves. It's the beautiful part is that they'll sell themselves.
Right. And that's one of the things you talk about on the website, right? Like one of the videos on the website is our ideal customers are this. The people that love interacting with our company do this, this, and this, or they need this, this, and this. Yeah. Another powerful video is customers that aren't a good fit are this, this, and this, or they need this and this and this that we don't provide. So, you would love doing business with us if you look like this avatar. If you look like this avatar, you might not be a good fit for the company. And here's the cap. Then I'm not here, so this is like I'm not going to take my own medicine on this. But they would say customers that need this, this, and this aren't a great fit for my business, but they could be a good fit for this, this, and this local business.
Ooh, now you're gangster. Now you're gangster if you do that.
I'm not there right now. I'm not there.
Let's try.
It's beyond my comfort level. But that's the point, right? Though, is because if I'm a customer and I watch that video or that series of videos, I'm like, he basically told me not to do business with him. But then, so the reverse psychology in this whole thing is, if you say, people, you don't want to do business with us if you need it right now, if you are looking for the lowest price and you don't care about quality, we're just not a good fit for you. Well, then the person's going to think, well, okay, like I don't need the lowest price. I do want quality, and I want a good quality product, right? I want it done the way I say it's going to be done. So then they automatically qualify themselves into your funnel. All right. They say, okay, well, as long as I'm not this, or this, I'm in. And these are my guys.
I love it.
So let's go to the chat real quick. I know we haven't been. So Justin's here. Justin Menendez. Justin, I apologize. Up in Nebraska. So our friends from the Great White North. He's not a Facebook user. He is Justin.
I like it.
Alan's with us. Alan Boulding. Good morning. Alan, good morning to you, sir. So this could be an interesting video. So Braden, let's put this on the suggestions board. Can you show us an example of how you should set up a Trello board and how many you should have?
I can. In fact, if you go on my website, I actually give away a Trello board to anybody who visits the website. And it is a no bothering you, no anything. So it's a little pop-up. If you visit the website, go to any of the pages, a little pop-up will push the form will go, email will come back to you, and we'll share that with you. So it's super simple.
So is it like a template then?
A template. It's a full template for a home service business of any kind. So yeah, anytime on the website, just go there and grab it.
Corey, that's a great question. And I didn't even know that answer was coming. I was going to say well, we should maybe do a video about it, but there it is.
We don't need to.
So Michelle, what website do they go to find that?
They can go to Pink Collars, PinkCallers.com, and just hover over any of the pages and that little pop-up will come.
There you go. Very good.
Yeah.
Corey goes on to say, I would think that if a customer only does interaction online, your close rate would be 20%. Ours is about 33%. But someone who has talked to you or even Pink Collars could be almost double, like 40%. I don't know. Like ours hovers right around 30%, 33% close rate, which, interesting enough, is pretty close to our close rate in person when we were doing it pre-pandemic, when we were doing in-person proposals. Now we could have been higher, right? 35, 36%, but industry averages, which are always dangerous, but for home service-based business is 30%.
Yeah.
So if you can close somewhere 3 out of 10, you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
It puts us in the ballpark. But now, Corey, also, though, this probably depends on your demographic, too, your ideal customer. Like I said, in our market, 45 is kind of for our business, is kind of the plus or minus, the cutoff of people that are willing to just do it without question, and people that need a little bit more, they need to be walked through the system. Right. They need a little bit more encouragement to go through it. So if our ideal avatar or ideal customer was 50, right, then we would probably want to do more in-persons then. If we knew that would affect, and we would probably test it, right? We tested the online quote tool and the digital process enough to where 33% is the number that we're good with.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can do that, there's several reasons for this, right? So it keeps our team members safe if and when we're in a time that we're dealing with the pandemic. It keeps team members safe, right? Because I got to thinking about this during the pandemic. I was like, how many people when I was doing in-person proposals, how many people did I interact with on a daily basis? 1-to-1, like first touch. Wow. So 5 to 7 customers, maybe spouses. So let's call it 10. I would eat lunch somewhere, right? So let's call it 12. I'd stop at the gas station a few times a week, right? All right. So let's call it 12 people a day. Well, not even counting the team here, though. So that's just out in the world. First touch, 12 people a day. Let's call it 10 just to keep numbers round. So 50 people a week, 200 people a month. That's one touch. That's direct one-on-one. Now, let's talk about second tier touches. So how many people did those people interact with? And then let's talk about third tier touches. So it's like when you shake a hand, how many hands are you shaking? You know what I mean? And it's thousands a week, right? When you're talking about second tier and third tier interactions. So that was kind of what solidified it for us. Well, one, we were mandated where you couldn't do one-on-one business, like during the pandemic and all that crazy time. And I understand people have different thoughts on that, and that's totally fine. But we were mandated. We couldn't do one-on-one business. We could not knock on the door and shake the hand and go walk around in the backyard. Now, we already had my salesman. We had the online quote process already. It wasn't a mandatory process. It was an optional. Hey, if you would rather do this on your own, you certainly can. We have the tools and all that. Or we'd be happy to come out and measure it. Now, the pandemic kind of took that option right off the table, but we reevaluated it once that mandate was lifted. Yeah. Right. So when we could go back out into the yards and we said, wait a minute. So we're looking at a close rate of 33%, which is more than 30%.
Yeah.
We're keeping ourselves healthier because we're limiting the first touch interactions, right? We're keeping our team together, but we're not going out into the world as much to shake 1,000 hands a week. So we're staying healthier, but we're also more efficient with our time. We're not wasting. So a typical appointment would waste 50 to 60 minutes of drive time.
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes there, 20, 30 minutes back. Now, we were using some tools that got really good at creating routes for us, right? So it wasn't 30 minutes everyone, but the point bears out that 2 to 3 hours a day were spent driving, minimum. Well, now if these conversations are 15 minutes each, and then we allow for 20 minutes on the back end to provide the quote, so 50 minutes plus or minus with a buffer in there and all that. So that's a whole nother 3 quotes a day that we could do rather than driving. Well, 3 quotes a day, and anyway, on and on.
That's so good. Can I interject? Can I interject here really quickly? Because I want to talk to his question. Yeah. I want to talk about follow-up. What kind of follow-up I think are guys doing? Because Corey, I see that your close rate will increase exponentially if you just follow up with people. Yep. People, generally speaking, and I know I'm guilty of this, I'll get a quote and I'll just forget about it. I'll go on with my life. And I am grateful when the vendor or the contractor or whoever reaches out to me and says, hey, we'd love to do that work for you. What's going on? So that's a huge, important part that I think a lot of people overlook, or they just don't have anybody to follow up. That's something that Pink Collars can do too, is just call on all those quotes and just touch base with people. Just say, hey, how you doing? What do you think? How can we serve you?
Well, and with digital quotes too, you got to think that the spam box gobbles up a fair amount of it. Does in our business. The spam bot gobbles up a lot of proposals. So a simple reach out of, hey, want to touch base, sent that bid over either earlier today or yesterday, depending on when the reach out is. I want to make sure you received it. If not, I can get it into your hands. I can send it to you again. Or if you check spam, it's probably hiding in there. That also gives them the opportunity to open up the dialogue again, right? Oh, I did get it. Wanted to talk to you about this, this, and this. Because to your point, people are busy. Case in point, so right now for this manufacturing business, we're dealing with different companies to provide the raw material, right? Well, one company had sent me a proposal. I remember glancing at it. I scanned it, digested it, put it in the back of my mind because we were right in the middle of doing something else. Yeah. Next day, he's good at follow-up. He texts me, hey, want to make sure you got the proposal. A lot of times they can go, they can go spam or they can get, I don't know where technology sends stuff sometimes, but I want to make sure you got it. Okay, well, now we're opening up the dialogue against it. I did get it. However, could I see a price with shipping because I'm trying to do apples and apples between you and someone else? And boom, it's done. Whether if he had waited for me to send that email, it would have been days.
Oh yeah,
if it happened. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Until I would have needed it, and then I would have reached out. But he has had one follow-up touch, and it was just want to make sure you got it. And it was, I think the important part in this example was it was in a different mode of communication, right? He and I had already talked. We had established that this is my cell phone. He had said, hey, is it okay if I text you sometimes just to reach out because sometimes emails don't come through?
Sure.
Totally fine. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So he did what he said he was going to do.
So good. You got to mix it up too. That communication style has to change. It can't always just be email after email after email. You got to touch people. You got to call people. You got to catch them where they are because they're just as busy as you are. And that's a great point. So thank you for that one.
Well, and so Dan Blanc's another fence guy. With Dan and Cannon have a show where they talk about fencing related stuff. So Dan really specializes in automation. That was one of the things he was saying was, or consider on texting, how often do you ignore an email versus how many times do you ignore your text messages? I will tell you right now, there are 145 unread emails just waiting patiently. There are no unread text messages.
Guilty as charged. I think
that's how we communicate.
Yeah.
It's how we communicate. Yep. So that's an excellent point though, Michelle, is follow-up impacts close rate.
100,000%. And follow-up can be digital follow-up, right? It can be text follow-up. It can be phone follow-up. And if you mix those up in a dynamic way, and you have a couple digital follow-ups and then a recurring sort of a reminder for the person in your office to make a phone call, that just, again, it's delivering that information instead of you going to chase it. And so if a CSR has to chase who to follow up with and it's arduous and difficult, newsflash, it's not going to get done, right? She's not going to get done. Because if you make it hard, it's not going to get done. If it's easy and simple and it comes to you and boom, you do it, it just makes it so much easier. And it results in financial impact in your business. So I'm a fan. I'm a big fan
of follow-up.
Me too.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. I apologize. I will butcher it. It will not be right. I'm not even going to give it a shot. But, actually, sorry. First question. Joe, could you do a video on building the jig you use to line up the top of the pickets, along with the 2 hanger jigs you use? Cool.
One of them isn't made, but the hanger one isn't made.
Yeah, quite literally, we were looking at this. So this video is in edit right now. We were looking at it right before we went live. Actually, for one of the jigs. So the jig that helps you correctly space out your 2x4s. That, and then there's a couple other tools included in that video. But, I mean, that's probably a good point was you probably work with, it'd be good for you to work with Scott and go out there and that he can show how he uses that top line jig. So, to answer your question, one of those videos is in edit 2 weeks out, or is that next week?
I think it's
Wednesday. Ask and ye shall receive. So, keep an eye out on Wednesday. Corey says, what is your favorite CRM to work with? Job Nimbus? What phone system works best for pink collars? Simply.
Ooh, okay. I'm familiar with both. We work with Job Nimbus and with Simply with a couple of clients. CRMs are a lot like shoes, hats, coats. You got to pick the one that fits you. And for me, a CRM has to be a reverse engineering pattern on your end. So as the business owner, you need to go, what do I want at the end of the day from my CRM? Do I want spreadsheet data? Do I want financial data? Do I want analytical data? What do I want to see? And that information is where you'll pick your CRM. For fencing, I'm loving Job Nimbus. Obviously, you guys turned us onto it, so we learned it alongside of you. But I've seen Jobber work really well for fencing folks. It's very simplified. It's a great one if you've got guys in the field that need to amend quotes or amend invoices. So that one's really simple. And in terms of phone systems, I love Simply. We're just now starting working on it. We work with Ring Central, which is a voice over IP phone system. I'm not really married to any of them. I will promise you that none of them are going to be perfect. So choose the one that is least painful. And if you want to go with Ring Central and you need a hand, I can certainly help you. Somebody on my team can help you kind of get it set up. I would just pick a voice over IP system somewhere and land your company phone number somewhere in the digital space. That's probably the most important thing you should do so that you have control over it no matter who buys or sells or does whatever. And being able to manage it in the digital space is so much easier than having to pull that cell phone out of a drawer, re-forward it to someone else. Where was it? Is it in a closet? You know, some people we've worked with have had actually old school phones that they're actually forwarding to us, and then they unplug the phone, put it in a closet, lose the phone. They don't know what to do. So please do yourself a favor and land it somewhere digitally, port it over to someone, and then from there it can be really any level of management can happen after it's digitally held.
I will parrot much of that as my opinion. So the favorite CRM to work with is the one that you will work with.
Yeah.
You know, we tried, I don't know, 4 or 5 different. So let's see. I think we started with Job Nimbus when I finally decided. Well, we had Pipe Drive, which isn't really a CRM, but we tried to make it like a CRM. Not really the same thing. Then we decided we need a CRM. And so I went out and I spent a week, like, which one is it? Yeah. Pros and cons on all of them. Went to Job Nimbus. Let me tell you something. The learning curve on Job Nimbus is steep. It is not a one-day set it up and it's going to work for you the next day. So that discouraged us for a little bit. And so we thought, all right, so let's try it. We tried, we tried others out in the market.
Others. You did.
We tried a lot of others. And what we learned was there is not one that fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because everyone's businesses are different, right? So they are developed to try to fit most businesses. Probably the 80-20 thing, right? Yep. Can we boil this down to where we fit 80% of what you're looking for? And can you be okay with that 20% that's just not going to work the way you want it to work? Or can you try to modify it anyway? And I told Mark Olson this, the Job Nimbus Mark Olson, when we were talking over the weekend I was like, listen, we tried it. We walked away. And now Job Nimbus was very gracious. They said, absolutely, no problem. They refund. So we had paid like an initial payment. We're like, we just want to put it on hold or cancel or whatever. They said, no problem. We'll put it on hold and we'll actually refund all the money you've paid. And we're just going to put this on pause. Like that's how confident they are. They're like, we know what else is out there. So you just go try any one of those and we'll see you when you come back. And they did. We came back 6, 8, 10 months later and said, all right, so we saw what else is out there. We would like to come back, please. And they were, yep, no problem. We just need to rerun that payment. And then we're actually just going to press go on your account. So everything you've set up to date is waiting for you. So now you can just pick up where you stopped, where you left off. Michelle, that was it. I was like, that's okay. We're done. We are not trying anything else. We are not going anywhere. This is where we're going to stay.
That's great.
That is my experience. Now, others have, Jobber comes up a lot. It comes up a lot. And I think part of this too is the scale of the business, right? Where 100%. Job Nimbus is going to be too much for an owner operator, likely.
Yeah.
Someone that's in the field actively, that's maybe they're trying to get an office started. Maybe Job Nimbus is not the right fit for that company. It will drive you nuts because it takes a lot of time to get it set up. You have to dedicate time to get it set up properly.
Yeah.
But caveat, I've never used Jobber. I've talked to other people that have used it. I do not have personal experience with it, but it sounds like it only scales to a certain point. So when you're trying to scale a business on a larger scale, it doesn't really follow. So there's a line in there somewhere, and I don't know where it is, but Jobber is great for guys that are starting out or owner operators that don't have a handful of crews, that don't have an office staff, and that all need to interact with each other. And Jobber is great for it, from what I've heard. But for larger businesses that are wanting to scale, in my experience, Job Nimbus has been good for us. But anyway,
love it.
Not a sponsored ad. I don't.
No, I know.
Yeah. I just like it works. And so I wanted, if I could save someone else that 8 to 10 months of like trying all these others, I wish somebody would have like been like, Joe, listen, I know what you're thinking. You think there's a better solution out there. There's not. So, and there could be. I know there's other people that use other CRMs, but We tried a lot of them, and this is the one that came closest. And to your point on phones, I think it applies to CRM. You need to find the one that gets closest to what you're trying to get it to do. And it's the Frankenstein effect, right? Like we Frankenstein together like enough of these things, and we're like, okay, it worked. What we were trying to do, one of the reasons we left Job Nimbus is we were trying to find one that does more things together, like less Frankenstein, more under one roof. And I'll tell you what it was the proposals, is because, well, the proposal is pretty bland. And I told Mark this is not like me throwing shade or anything, but I just said the proposals are a little bland. There are other proposal softwares out there that give a really nice proposal, but we got Frankenstein stuff. So then I was like, let me go to this company that has really nice proposals. Like they look great. Well, come to find out, they're not great at CRM. Like they are great at proposals. They're not great at CRM. And anyway, so then we came back to Job Nimbus. Find the one that fits most of what you're wanting to do. For us, the CRM aspect was really important. The keeping all the communication in one spot. So we're not trying to search through different email accounts. We're not trying to ask who's talked to whom. And with Job Nimbus, all of it stays like within the customer file. So for us, that was most important.
That's heaven. That's heaven too, to be able to look back at all that information.
Absolutely. All right. Wanted to put in a 10-foot gate. Should I go 6x6 post over 4x4 post for a 6-foot privacy fence? C. None of the above. I would do steel post, especially on a 10-foot gate, 6-foot privacy fence. It's going to be a heavy gate. It's going to be a lot of weight. 6x6, better than a 4x4. I can agree with that. But all of our gates are steel post, a 40 weight steel round post. That's where it's at for us. They're not going to warp and twist. They're not going to do anything that wood posts do. That would be my option. If I had to choose, if you said, Joe, I will not install a steel post, I know it's going to warp and twist and it won't stay straight, 6x6. Like if I had to choose the two of those, but if you can, go with the steel post. Says they're fixing and adding to a fence after Hurricane Ian. Ian? Nope, Ian. That is that word. Ian. Anyway. I think there's going to be a lot of this in the fence Facebook groups. There are already a lot of conversations about this. You're very welcome. So thanks for the information on the videos about the jigs. You're very welcome. Our friends from Philly, Caserk Distributors. Woo! What is up, Philly? How are you? Good seeing you, Chris, for sure. Guys, Good 49 says, just started following you about a month ago. Thank you. I've learned a lot. I appreciate that. Love the information. Thank you. Very welcome. Kyle Hamburg says, hey, Fence fam. Well, Kyle, I can't speak for the whole Fence fam, but I can speak for me, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome. All right, last question. You offer hour-long paid consultation calls. Would love to call and talk to an expert about the best way to do some different things with my fence. I don't. Because this is a question that comes up a lot. I don't feel good about this, right? Like, I know me. I would feel so like I don't care if it's $10. I would be so wrapped up in figuring out how to guarantee value for that money. Like we don't, just because I can't. I know there's others out there that do, and that's perfectly fine. To each their own, sort of thing. I don't have a great way of guaranteeing value, and I don't know how to value that, because I've heard some fees that are out there for consultation. And sometimes I'm like, that's going to be tough to provide that much value guaranteed for every call, right? It's just, to answer your question, I know, but I do answer questions on here for free because I guarantee you I can provide value for free.
I've got your answer, Joe. The people are speaking. The people are speaking. It's time for you to build a course where you teach people all the ways of the Ninja Orange. It's time. The people are speaking. They're asking for it. You're so good on camera.
I hear this.
Let's just stick a camera on your face and let's just send you around the world. Let's go.
It's same. I absolutely understand that there's head trash here. But like I have heard this. Like I took a half step. Like I have a platform. We found a platform that creates training programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Michelle, like I get so wrapped up in like how do you value that? And how do I there's a lot of head trash in there for me about this, but it's like I would get so concerned isn't the right word. I would just get so worked up about not providing value for, you know what I mean? And like, so some of these people will say, we'll give you money back guarantee and all that. Like, I think that's a sales trick. Like, that feels salesy to me to say, I'll give you your money back, which is true. Like, but I don't know. I hear it. But so Corey says, shameless plug, Thornton Fence Consulting was trying to get Job Nimbus templates ready for their customers. Okay. Between that and Tony, there's a lot of value. So Tony Thornton has Thornton Consulting. So please understand, when I said that I've heard people's consulting rates, I was not speaking about Tony. Okay. I should have thought about that before I said it was not in the fencing industry. But anyway, so Tony is a great resource. If you guys don't know Tony Thornton, if you haven't met Tony Thornton or know of him, you should look him up. He is the former executive director of the American Fence Association. He has worked end to end in the industry. And see that. So Michelle, here's part of my problem, right? So I'm like, I've done it for 20 years, 20 plus years, like 22 years, like on the books sort of thing. Like there were some younger years anyway, 20 plus years, but Tony's got like a lot more years. I don't want to age Tony. I don't want to assume age here, but he's got a lot more. I don't know.
You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing a bunch of nonsense in there. I think you said you were hearing some sort of reverb or something. I'm hearing it right here, right now, because people would love to see how you've built your brand, how you've built your team. I mean, there's so much value there. So I'm going to be first in line to say, let's do it.
Okay. I will. Okay. I will consider this more. This has been something off and on like for the last 4 or 5 years. Cause like when this channel started, I was like, oh, okay, this will be the free content. This will be, I just put it out for the world to have. And then if they want more information, then there can be a course. But then I'm like, I've seen a few people do that. And I'm like, anyway.
You didn't like it. Well, you got to do it different then.
That's the thing is like, I know I'm going to start repeating all the same stuff, but it's just, I need to make good with that and figure out what that looks like to where I need to provide overwhelming value. So we'll figure out what that looks like. I
like it.
Guys, good says my first live. Blessings, Fence family. Appreciate that. Welcome. Nice. What a live to pick as a first one. I think it's a good one. Let's not set the standard here. Like some of the lives might not have as much value in them, but this one's a good one. You picked a good one for a first one, that's for sure. Fellow Joe says, got to go. Catch you later on the YouTube replay. See you later, Joe. You can also catch us on a podcast because I'm supposed to remind you guys 2 to 3 times during this video that we have a podcast. It's actually, and I listened to it. Like, how weird is that? Like, I was obviously present for the live YouTube Q&A, but I like to put it on in the truck and just listen. I like to hear the content that's being put out there. Anyway, see you, Joe. Michelle, would you like to watch this week's Week in the Life video?
I'm ready. Whatever happens on this thing, I'm here. I'm strapped in. I'm buckled up. I'm ready to go.
Now, keep in mind, I'm a fence guy that tries to do technology, and actually, Braden helps me out with this, so it works a lot better now. Let's see. He had this teed up ready to go. Here we go.
It's Thursday morning. We're out here in the shop, and we have 41,000 pounds of fencing material headed our way.
Earlier this year, February to be fairly specific, we had placed a massive fittings order directly with a factory in India, and then somewhat forgot about it until we got an email that said, hey, we're done with your fittings and they're on a boat headed to New York. They should be to you in a couple weeks. Lo and behold, a couple weeks later, a semi truck shows up full of fittings. Uh-oh.
We're going to offload the truck.
So let me say this. Let me say this. It was like only 2 weeks from India to our lot.
Okay.
So
wow.
That's why I take issue with like hearing about supply chain issues sometimes. Now, I understand different ports are different. This one went through New York, but I was like, it was 2 weeks from India here. Like I've talked to people that have been waiting 2 months for a container that's sitting outside a port. So anyway, got to pick the right ports apparently.
In 2 rows. And then we're going to downstack all of those pallets, stocking in the shop.
Of course, Eric has a Coke. Like if you guys follow the channel, you know, like Eric is a fanatic about Coke. He will only drink Coke. He's been to like the world headquarters of Coca-Cola. Like that is his level of commitment to this brand. Anyway, so of course he has a Coke.
Up in the warehouse what we can. What we can't is getting restacked onto new pallets and put in that container over there. Or in the warehouse. We're going to try our best to stock it.
They didn't actually go in that container. Are we going to do like a follow-up later, like where those actually went? Yeah. Let's do just because and I could talk about why. So there's a concern about humidity because here in the Midwest we have all of it. We've got all of the humidity in the world here. So, well, let me back up. So we got we bought back in January or February we bought a truckload, like $100,000 worth of fittings, and when we're opening them up, something like 12 or 13% have surface rust. Like they're just not sellable. That's just bad. I wouldn't pay for it. So in the scrap they went. So that was fresh on my mind because I don't like, 13% of $100,000 is not nothing. So I was like, let's not do that. So I'm thinking about humidity out there in the container. I'm like, there's nothing, there's all the humidity in these containers. So anyway, we ended up putting them in a place where we can control humidity. I think there's I'll tell you, they're over at Wireworks, over at the manufacturing facility. Don't tell anybody else though, Michelle.
I won't.
They're going to see that in a video.
Mum's the word.
So we can keep humidity over there at 40%. So we put a dehumidifier in there, which is like a pretty arid humidity. It's pretty low humidity. So, and we put a lot of, they were in the stain shop and then they kept getting in our way because we had to keep staining boards. So anyway, they now reside over at Wireworks.
As much as we can so we don't have a bunch of pallets. You want to scoop my forks in a little bit?
So Jared does this little rappel move. Would it surprise you to know that Jared is leaving us in November to be deployed at the National Guard? I saw him do that move, and I'm like, that's a Jared move. That's very much a Jared move. He's rappelled a time or two. So I don't know how to. So there's two Mark Olsons. There is a Mark Olson, the fencing professional, and there's a Mark Olson with Job Nimbus. One will tell you. So one is older than the other, and they will tell you that they are the Mark Olson the first. But anyway, this is fencing professional Mark Olson. Oh, can we put it up there? So Mark is for Diet Pepsi. Now, I am on the Pepsi side of this discussion. If we're talking about Coke versus Pepsi, I am on the Pepsi, but cherry Pepsi. You can't talk me out of cherry Pepsi. If Diet Pepsi, cherry Pepsi is cherry Pepsi all the way. But I do like the fact that you're on Pepsi. The reason I wanted to bring this up is, Mark, you are, and you know this, but I want to give you thanks publicly for introducing me to the people that we are unloading right now. Mark introduced me to this company, and they have been great to deal with. So, Mark, thank you. Mark and I, and I don't know how much of this I can say. So Mark and I have an announcement coming up sometime soon. I shouldn't have said that. Okay. We'll just leave that. Whoop, no. Okay. Back to the technology. It took several trips, but the guy stuck with it and got the truck unloaded. Now, we have fittings everywhere. They're in almost every corner of this place. I'm surprised there's not some here behind. Easy. So this is a telescoping forklift. I cannot tell you how many times we use like the telescoping part of this. We originally got this forklift because in our I say our previous location. It was this location, but smaller. We had to unload semis from the road. And so if you got a truckload of lumber, I didn't want the forklift going out in the road to pick up the other side of it because they're in 2 rows on the trailer. So this one could reach across and grab them. We got this location where now we grew into this location where now we unload semis here on the lot, not on the road. So I was like, I don't know how often we're actually going to use the telescoping. We might trade it in for something that's non-telescoping. No, not going to happen because we use this a lot.
That's a really slick piece of equipment. Does it have a name, and why is it painted orange? I have 2 questions. What's the name?
Well,
why isn't it orange yet? It needs to be orange soon.
It's on lease, so it's a leased piece of equipment. So we can't paint it. We probably could if we really wanted to, but our other forklift at Wireworks is absolutely orange, and I didn't even know. Like they sent me a picture of like from the manufacturer, like, you know, the website picture or whatever. I was like, yeah, that one looks right. That'll be fine. And then it shows up and it's orange.
Of course they did. They're smart.
I love that. Yeah, they absolutely are. Because you can guarantee Amber will be my next call on every forklift ever. Like she delivered that. She was like, listen, this wasn't on purpose, but I love that it happened. As soon as I walked in and I saw that it was orange, I knew it was yours.
Great.
But so this is a Genie telehandler. I forget which model Genie it is, but we've had it for 6 years, 7 years. Been a great piece of equipment.
There's also a couple things that the amount that you ordered and the quantity of the box doesn't add up. I don't know how they're going to.
So that was something we learned was, so when we sent them a purchase order, it was more of a like a suggested quantity we'd like to have. And then they just let us know at the end, like what they're actually going to ship us. So I had given Eric the purchase order I sent them. And what he was telling me is like, hey, we're counting up and some are light, some are heavy. Like there's some more, there's some less. And then we went back into paperwork and I found the bill of lading or the shipping. And I figured, you know, when you deal with overseas, at least with these folks, there's a plus or minus 10% on the quantities. They can send you 8% more. They can send you 7% less. Just kind of works out. I don't know how.
I'll adjust for that.
We tried taking these pallets apart. Literally, that circular saw is the best way to take them apart. We tried crowbars. We ended up just cutting them apart. They were really well done. So all this was actually happening on Thursday, and through the magic of video editing, we're going to take you to the beginning of the week where I had to take out a few walls over at Ozark Wireworks to make room for the new machinery that's on its way. What's up, guys? We're here at the new Wireworks building. We've got to get this room demoed because the electricians will be here tomorrow and Wednesday. So we got to get all this drywall out of the way. That way they can disconnect the electrical. And also they're bringing the 220 3-phase in for the new machines. So without further ado, this room is going to get demolished. Have we talked about the lighting's different now on the videos? Okay. So we'll include that in one of the videos. We redid all that's lighting. So like half of these lights were out. These are like T5 or T8, whatever those bulbs are. The round, long ones. Half of them were out anyway. So we changed it out to LED. It might not be like working on the surface of the sun, but it's a lot like working on the surface of the sun. They are bright. Well, I didn't think about it. So, my cousin has an electrical contracting company. So I just told him, I was like, hey, I need 18 LED lights to replace some T5s or T8s, whatever they are. And he's like, yep, no problem. So we replaced these 1-to-1 for LED. And his guy that was coming to install them, he's like, are you sure you want this many? Like, you realize one LED is like 3 of these lights output wise. Like, well, here you are, and you've got them, so put them in. I don't want to ever regret. There is no inch of this place that has a shadow in it. It is all lit up, which is good. Let's fast forward back to Thursday. The guys have the truck unloaded, but before they start finding any free space to put these boxes, they're going to make sure that the warehouse is fully stocked. So this is a good point to bring up Mark's point. So when we're talking about fence fittings, there's typically a couple ways they come in, either boxes or bags. I absolutely agree with Mark. These boxes are absolutely the way to get fittings. The bags. Now that I've had these boxes, I don't want to go back to bags. This is the way to handle fence fittings. The manufacturer's quality and consistency, absolutely. So we haven't dug into all of them, but we did some quality controlled testing. Like we just picked some random boxes and opened them up, and quality's good. Okay, Mark says, "Don't tell anyone about our secret." You got it. We will announce it later. Got it. And Mark wants to let everyone know that he is Mark Olson 2.0. So I'm sure that'll go well. He is 2.0. So, no. I was going to say, is it senior versus junior? That wouldn't work out very well either. So, okay. Mark Olson 2.0. Got it. All right.
I got the 4-inch race band.
How big is the box?
It's big enough to hold a 4-inch trace band.
Very useful. This week's secret phrase for those of you participating in the free $100 Amazon gift card is quote. As in, I use my salesman to give my customers free online quotes. I didn't think that through because I don't think the secret code is plural. It is definitely singular. So it is written there. So we'll see how many. So it tells us if people use inactive codes. So if there's we might have to add plural to the list. I don't know. The guys got everything put up exactly where it needs to be, and they found enough space somehow throughout this building and the Wireworks building to make room for the additional boxes. Now, like I said, at the Wireworks building, we've got all the walls down. Scott and his guys did a great job of cleaning up the mess, taking up the floors, and getting ready for a surprise that's showing up next week. Now, if you follow me on TikTok, you already know what that surprise is. Folks, I'll see you next week. I'm Joe. All right. That is next week. That is Monday's video. So, yeah, Ozark Wireworks is coming along. And we got an absolute, we got a truckload of fittings. What we learned is in the state of Missouri, you have to get an overweight permit if you're over 40,000 pounds, because that truck sat in St. Louis at a rail yard for a week when they waited for an overweight permit from the state of Missouri. So, some useful knowledge for you if you ever wondered.
Things you didn't know about starting a manufacturing company.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that's what I had to tell. So I was talking to one of the suppliers of the raw material, and they're like, do you prefer 40,000 or 45,000 pound loads? Like, well, state of Missouri prefers 40,000 pound loads, or else you're going to have to get a permit. So, yeah, the more things we learn here.
So good. All
right, Vince, more questions since I can't pay you. You got it. Would you go round metal post with shark bite hinges? Yes. Or Postmaster Plus for a 10-foot gate, round with the shark hinges. What length of post for the two? I'm assuming going 10-foot post, 4 foot in the ground. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be, it depends on your area, right? So you need to look up the frost depth or the frost line in your area. You can simply search. I would search Greene County, Missouri frost line, and it'll pull up a USDA or one of these reports that tells us what the average frost line in our area is, and you want to go 6 inches below that. And because I say that, because if you are in like North Dakota, 4 foot doesn't even get close to the frost line, right? Or especially up in Canada. Now, if you're down in Texas, there is no frost line. Well, there was a frost line that caused some problems, but historically, there's not a frost line in Texas. So you're going to need to find out. But 4 foot, if 4 foot is below the frost line in your area, it is absolutely be fine. But yeah, I would go. We use round metal post up to 10-foot double. So you're right at the edge. 5 foot per leaf is kind of our line. Now everyone makes their own lines, but for us, when we're looking at our historical data on going back, and because we provide lifetime warranties on workmanship, so we'll provide free adjustments to gates that are over 5 foot in length on a round post with the shark hinges and shark latches. They have more callbacks than ones that are less. So 5 foot's kind of our cutoff. If it's larger than 5 foot, then we would go to a larger round post, like a 3 or 4 inch, depends on how big of a gate, with Cox hinges or Bulldog hinges, either one. But yeah, so 10 foot round post, 40 weight is 2.5 inch schedule 40 is kind of where we're at with those, with these shark hinges. It says, I'm also a welder. Should I build gate frame out of metal? Yes. If so, what type? 1.5 inch square galvanized is what we use. Aluminum. So we use steel. It's a strong. Now I understand if you have the capability and you want to go aluminum, it is a lighter metal, so it will swing a little bit easier, right? But you're gonna have to brace it better because aluminum is a lighter metal. So 1.5 inch galvanized square is what we use. We pick it up from Stevens Pipe and Steel is where we get it from, but any of the national wholesalers surely carry 1.5 inch square galvanized tubing. South Carolina, I think it's 4 inch frost line. Well, that would be nice. That sounds great. I am jealous of you. So so check out any of the suppliers. South Carolina, I mean, all of the major ones are up and down the eastern seaboard. So 1.5 inch galvanized square tube is where we're at. Michelle.
Sir.
We talked about training a while ago, training admins.
We did.
Is there, so if we have admins internally,
yes,
is there a best practice? Like what? Okay. I'm just trying to tee this up because we talked about before the live. I'm a fence guy that tries to do this technology stuff. We talked about a training boot camp or seminar that you're putting on for training admins. Is that right?
That's absolutely accurate. Yeah. So I would just venture to guess that the majority of the listeners have a training program or at least a framework on how to train their technicians. And then we do ourselves a grave disservice because we hire an admin or an office person and we stick them by the phone near the stuff that we don't want to deal with. And we say, good luck, I got to go. And you run, right? So the training for admins is haphazard sometimes at best, or a little bit difficult at best. And sometimes it might not be your best skill. So my friends and I, some colleagues and I are put together an admin boot camp where you can send your admin on a plane, just like you do when you go to a show and you get all that great knowledge and you find a community and you start reading good books and you have these new tools. We're going to give that same thing to admins in this home service space. So we just saw a need in the market for this type of a product to help admins grow. And we're doing our second one. We have partnered with the huge convention where you and I met. So We've got those awesome guys working with us behind the scenes on this event as well. And we're meeting in Nashville. The tickets are including meals and stay. So you don't have to worry about your admin, where they're going to stay, where they're going to sleep, how they're going to get around town. We're going to pick them up from the airport. We're going to tuck them into an Airbnb. We're going to hang out with them during the day. And we're going to go through the 5 areas of your business that an admin impacts, especially if you're an owner operator and you have an admin. You're going to talk to them about sales, marketing, finance, people, and last but not least, my stuff, systems. And they're going to come back with 5 Trello boards that are going to cover those 5 areas. I don't know where that came from. Trello's there. And then you can really actively be able to train and talk to them about those 5 areas of your business on a digital platform where you can say, man, I saw this article, it's really cool, or I'd love to make this part of our sales talk when we talk to people, put that in. Oh, this is a really cool, piece of software I found, you can place that in. So it's a way for you to build a training platform for your admin. And then if you don't have time to do it, we're going to give them their own Slack environment, and they're going to have their own community. So just like in my company where we've built the Shell, Steph, Lori kind of a hierarchy, it's going to be very similar in the fact that they're going to be able to talk to admins from all over the country, because the pain that they suffer is very similar with one another. And so they're going to solve each other's problems without you as the business owner needing to do that. So I am putting the link in the show notes. I put it in the chat here, so you've got it. And if anybody wants to sign their admin up, we've got 2 weeks before it starts. So we've got a little bit of time. I would go ahead and do it today. Not that this is salesy, but I run out of time to get an airplane ticket in a nice, efficient, and affordable way. So I would highly recommend you shoot those admins over our way. I'm going to be there to catch them. And my 4 other colleagues are going to help us get this 2-day event underway, and they're just going to really enjoy it. So please.
Fantastic. I love it. Now, are these the same 4 that you do other content with?
I do. These are my Fight Club team. And so this is Megan Likes, Martha Woodward, Tay Maroney, and we're adding a ringer in for sales from a company called, we are going to add in Amanda, and she is from Power Selling Pros. And Power Selling Pros, if you haven't heard of them, is a sales methodology and coaching platform for CSRs. And so they do an hour-long call with them monthly. They record their calls and talk about feedback, different word tracks that the CSR could use, how to give that customer what they call a wow experience. And so they're a partner of ours at Pink Collars that we utilize. And they are going to be sending their amazing Amanda to us to talk to us about sales. And so she's going to share all the secret sauce. So you're going to get the benefit of 5 experts in 2 days and a community all inclusive. So it's pretty cool. And it's called Admin Boot Camp Adventure. So we're asking you to send your admins to camp. Send them.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk for a minute, because several of the companies I would think that watch this channel may not have like a dedicated admin.
They might not.
So who would this be a good fit for? So say they don't have to be admin is the point, right? Sure. Like, who would be a good fit for this if it's not someone that has an admin?
Well, if they're the owner and they are in the admin space, I would recommend that they follow us on social media and find out what the recordings might be, because we might be able to, we're going to get in the field and confirm that the technology works. We're not going to promise recordings yet, but we're going to confirm that we can record it well. We have great sound and light quality. And then if it's a good product, we're going to put it on the market. So I would follow up with us on that. And if you can't send anyone, or if you're an owner and you don't have the time to get away from your business for the 2 days, we would absolutely encourage you to follow us on social media for more information in the future.
And where can they follow you?
They can follow us on My Office Outfitter, which is the name of the outlet that we're putting this product under. And it's green and it's got all kinds of camp references, and it's pretty cool. So My Office Outfitter is the best place to do that. And that, Joe Everest, is my terrified place, because I'm with you, where I'm selling courses and I'm dipping my toe in carefully. So I'm taking my own medicine here. So I'm the same way. I want to add massive value, or I don't feel comfortable. So I'm doing small things and seeing how they work. And this in-person effort has just been wonderful. We did it in March, and we had 50 admins, and we changed some lives and we changed some businesses. So it's really good place to send your folks. So,
fantastic. Can they follow you guys on social media as well?
Absolutely. We're on Facebook. LinkedIn is probably the best place to reach me or any of the other team personally, and all that good stuff. So
what do they search? So I'm on LinkedIn and I've got a search bar. What am I typing in there to find you?
My Office Outfitter.
Okay. Same
My
thing.
Office Outfitter. Same thing. Yep. Same thing.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So, Michelle, what haven't we covered? What do you talk at enough of these events, or you done on enough of these shows where you know what you like to talk about? What haven't we hit yet?
The only thing we have not hit is, I think, probably investment in training and admin. I think that the CRMs do a little bit of a disservice because their training is focused almost exclusively on the owner and how to set up the CRM, right? And so I would want to encourage owners to think about the tools in their business. I loved how you said, I wanted everything to talk to each other. I wanted it to work together. Yeah. If you've created a Frankenmonster, a Frankenstein in your business, right? Think about the person who has to actually pilot that ship every day, your admin or the person that's on those phones, and see it through their eyes and see if maybe as this quarter is coming to a beginning, right? We're in Q4. Maybe you could set that as a goal to kind of sit with them and shadow them for half a day and see what kind of pain points they're having that you could remove as the business owner for them. Because just like you said, if you have a bad day, it telegraphs to your customers. And so what we want to really do as owners is make sure that we're constantly reiterating every position in our business, right? Just revisiting it and fixing it. Just like you do on the, the week overview that you just did, those iterations, the telegraphing boom thingy, forgive me, I don't know what it's called. This thing, you're iterating because things are changing. And so don't forget your admin in that process and continue to revisit that role in your business. Whether it's you right now or, a spouse or whether it's someone else, just keep looking at it because it's constantly on the move and your customers are constantly on the move and they need that support. So I would just encourage you to spend some time with them if you can.
I think that's a great point. So I'm very familiar with how all of these softwares work together because I'm the one that kind of assembled them, right? Yeah. I'm like, we use this because this interacts with this because this, and that, and the other. I just know that because I went through the pain of having to connect everything or finding ones that don't connect. So I found something else that would connect but the admins don't have that experience.
They don't.
Right. So we give them the web address and the login information or the software. We give them access to it and we say, well, here it is. It works. Yeah. And they're like, well, okay, but why? Like, well, no, because it works and it works like this. And we're like, well, yeah, because things I take for granted.
Yeah, true.
They haven't experienced yet. Yeah. And it's not fair for me to say, well, you should, or think, well, why are we having these conversations? Because it just, whatever the example is, right? It's like, it just works. Like, we don't need to examine why it works or how it works. We just know that it works. It's like, no, Joe, that's not fair because you had 10 months of pain and agony getting these things to work together. They didn't have that experience. They need to have that experience. So that's something I'm working on myself is being better at explaining, which is somewhere that this Trello can come in to play, right? So if it's a question that comes up more than a couple times, it should probably go on Trello. And then the answer can be on Trello so that it's searchable, right? So if there is a question or if someone else, if as we're growing, we bring on someone else to help share that load, now they have a whole repository of all of this information. Yeah, we don't have to go back through the verbal learning, right? And because I can try to train as much as I can, but there's going to be situations that come up that I haven't thought about or that I just didn't think to cover. So, who knows what that situation is, but if they had Trello, then they can search service radius or they can search, agricultural fencing, which isn't something we do, but it's something we get calls about. Well, I know for a fact we don't do it, but if someone were new here, they might not know that. They're like, well, it's fence and we're a fence company, so we probably do it. Like, well, it's different enough that we don't, right? So these questions can all go on Trello, which this is going to sound like a sales pitch, but it's really not. It works. It just works. And it is an online repository of all of this information. So, and here's the thing. I don't like to admit this, but I have forgotten things before.
No way. Not you.
Listen, I know it's a shock.
Not you.
I know it's a shock, but I have forgotten things before. So it's also a place where I can put information, right? It can be, hey, our top supplier for this is this, right? So that if my team sees that, so retail wholesale, they need to buy a 6 5/8 cock singe. Not something we typically carry. They're going to have to go order that, right? Where do we order it from? Well, we could put in there. If it comes up more than once, we could put in there. The source is this. The item number is this. The last price paid is this, so that they can have all the information without having to figure out where is Joe. Like, is he? This is not a small place, and so they could look out front and be like, "Well, his truck's here, so he's here somewhere."
Yeah,
like,
somewhere.
Who knows? But so now they have that repository. Or if I'm not here, or if I'm in one of these calls where I can't take a text message, then they can try to find that information for themselves too.
Yes.
So
Love it.
It is a great place. How can people? So we talked about pinkcollars.com. Is that where someone would go to learn more about Pink Collars?
They can, but you know what they can also do? They can go and see the case study that we did on you and I working together. And they can read kind of what Sarah talked about, which I love, because I think listening to the customer is so much more fun than listening to you and me. So, and Sarah, I mean, I hate to say this, but Sarah might be smarter than the two of us put together. I mean, she's just it.
I don't want to speak for you, but she is smarter than I am. I mean, that she is smarter than I am. So which is why she's in the position she's in.
Exactly. So if you go to pinkcollars.com and then fence case study or Ozark fence case study, sorry, I'm not reading it correctly. Okay. You can read a lot about how you and I have worked together and have essentially let smarter people run our businesses for us. And that can lead you to a forum to get on a call to talk about how our company can help yours. So I'm going to put on that website, Joe sent me. And so we're just going to say, Joe sent me, and just push that button, and we'll get with you and talk to you about how we can be of benefit. I think the most important thing that you just need to remember is that I have a heart very much like Joe's, that I want to add a ton of value. I want to make sure that I leave an impact on the world that said that I helped solve problems. You know, I didn't make drama or problems, that I helped fix things. And so for both of us, I know that that's your legacy too. You're building stuff all day long that's going to last far back beyond after we're both gone. And I think for me, I want to invest in people in that way and let them do the incredible work to grow companies all over the country. So if you want to do something cool like that, then you're going to be in good hands if you come hang out with us. So.
Perfect. And like I say, it's obviously working on your end, instilling that into your team and your culture. Because, like I said before, we review the P&Ls quarterly, and it's not even a conversation. We're like, the value that we're receiving far exceeds this number. Moving on. Like, it's just not even part of the conversation. But
love it. I'm obsessed. I love it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Braden put it down in the comments. So there it is, pinkcollars.com/Ozark fence case study. Take you right to us. Now, I wanted to have you on so that I could introduce my community to you, because when this conversation happens often where someone will reach out, they'll say, hey, you talked about you've got someone that's dedicated to answering phones and solving problems.
Yeah.
I sure do. Who is it? Here's the contact. So I figured this might be a better solution. If the question gets asked more than twice, you need to have a video on it, right? But that is this happening.
And I will be, just for those listening, I will be at AFA this year. It's going to be my first year.
Okay.
So take it easy on me. Okay. Fantastic. I'm a new member. I'm all shiny and new. I don't know all the lingo quite yet, but I am going to come in, and I hope that I get as warm of a welcome as Joe you've given to me and our team. So I'm expecting nothing but awesome faces, beautiful people, and a ton of great content. So I'm thrilled to be able to add value as I can. I think I'm speaking. I'm not quite sure yet. I don't want to promise anything, but I know that Pink Collars is going to be there in the building, and we're going to be there to answer questions. So look for the pink. I have a sneaking suspicion we'll be the only booth that is pink. I'm just saying.
Well, that's an awful small limb to go out on. You never know.
Yeah, never know.
But going off my recollection of this past fence tech, I think you're pretty safe. I don't remember anyone else with fluorescent pink, but you never know. It could be a first time for everything. No, that's awesome. So you're going to be at fence tech. That's very cool.
I will be there. I am so excited. I can't believe that we've finally. It's been a couple years. I've been looking at that show, and I've been like, I really need to get in this thing. This thing would be good. So
yeah, I agree. Well, very good. Then that will be the next time that we catch up in person. It's been a while since we caught up in person.
Branson, yeah, because we talk like this all the time and on Slack. So
that's right. It'd be good to see you in person again. It absolutely will.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you got a ton of value out of this. I always do. If you're listening and you've made it through the end of the podcast, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. If you'd like to watch these in their live versions, check us out, youtube.com/Joe Everest. If you're watching this, you can also listen to it on a podcast. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, just search Joe Everest, and I'll probably pop up. Michelle, thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm grateful.
You're welcome. Guys, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. And I'll see you next time.